Hello, welcome to Hit the Ground Running, Best Practices for PLM Migrations for Siemens Teamcenter. My name is Brian Scouten. I'm Director of Technical Presales for ProStep Inc. And today we're going to go through the fourth webinar in our four-part webinar series on Teamcenter migration. This one's focused on solutions and utilizing ProStep's commercial off-the-shelf tool, OpenPDM Migrate, in order to get your Teamcenter migration moving. ProStep's Teamcenter Migration Week is sponsored by the Digital Enterprise Society. Over these sessions, ProStep will cover crucial topics to assist your organization with migrating to Siemens Teamcenter PLM. From planning and validation to data migration techniques, these webinars provide real-world guidance and answers to your most pressing questions around modernizing the complex PLM landscape. The Digital Enterprise Society has an event called the Digital Intersect coming up February 22nd in Troy, Michigan. This one-day event will be an opportunity to network with peers, learn about best practices from industry thought leaders, and discover new technologies from several top vendors serving our industry. The theme this year is the revolution of your digital ecosystem, and there's a great agenda plan to include presentations from Siemens Digital Industries Software, ProStep, Elysium, SimData, Leanon, and several others. Also to note, I'll be giving a presentation entitled Multi-System PLM Integration at the Digital Intersect event on February 22nd. If you're interested in learning strategies to connect siloed product data across core enterprise systems, please join my session. Go to www.digitalenterprisesociety.org to learn more. And thanks again to the Digital Enterprise Society for sponsoring this. So let's start with the benefit of using a commercial tool. In our case, this is OpenPDM Migrate that ProStep offers. Really, you've got performance features that are baked into the tool because this framework has availability for high-performing interfaces that have been tested over time, parallelization that's been tested over time, good success with analysis, reporting, a nice interface so that you can use the system efficiently. And then the tools are modular so that you can put them together specific for your environment's configuration. Because no two migrations are the same. They might have a little bit of different mappings or different sources of data, whatever that might be. Migrations are also kind of transient, right? So you might have a migration event that happens over a couple of months. You don't want to purchase software or maintain long-term software. So we offer rental models specifically for OpenPDM Migrate so that we can come in, get the job done, and then move along without maintaining that software. Also with the commercial off-the-shelf tool, you have something that's known to be successful, and you have a known commodity to performance, to what the expectation of a migration might look like, and you can easily then leverage that in order to be able to calculate project durations, make sure you have the right architecture and process procedures, things like that. You can also do other things like monitor, be able to pause in case there might be a system instability or something like this. Sometimes if there's high performance executions, that can become apparent. And be able to efficiently, economically, as well as through high performance transactions, efficiently then migrate your data. So OpenPDM actually comes in 3 different flavors. The one that we're focused on today is OpenPDM Migrate, but there's also OpenPDM Integrate that is an integration platform, and OpenPDM Collaborate that is integration over corporate borders, sometimes to a neutral PLM. And there are shared components between all 3. But when you're focusing specifically on OpenPDM Migrate, you're utilizing all the different connectors that are available within the ecosystem, but then also have special tools for staging databases for an ETL style migration. off-the-shelf export and import processes for parallelized, high performance activities, reporting that you can use in order to understand every transaction or history of the data as it flows through the migration. And other things like that, processes for parallel batch transformation of CAD data, and visual tools for watching the migration being executed, and things like this. So a lot of great tools focused specifically on migration, but then also other flavors that can support other use cases as well. So with OpenPDM Migrate, you can execute either that one-time big bang style migration that's moving all the data over from the old system to the new system, maybe over a week or over a weekend. So that's kind of a one-time transaction. Or you could do it incrementally. That could be either with an initial load and just a little delta update, so you have very limited downtime. Or possibly a coexistence style migration where you're batching just groups of data, maybe a program worth of data or a division's worth of data, and then moving just small groups of data with small groups of users from the old system to the new system. We can support both of those types of migrations. It's got effective tools for checking the source data and doing some analysis of that, which is important for data cleanup, as well as for understanding the scope, and where there might be gaps in data models where you might need to add new attributes or come up with new identifiers or what have you. You can make sure that you've got the structuring of the data, the performance of the connectors, very well understood. Through packaging and parallelization, in structuring of that data, you can then ensure a high performance solution, transfer CAD structures, do bidirectional synchronization for coexistence, and be able to combine data or have processes that might reach into multiple systems. So this is also common through integration, where we might have ERP data and PLM data that might need to be merged together in order to then, maybe be put into a third system. That's also a migration solution where you might need to take data on a directory and CAD files, things like that, or data that's managed within multiple systems that you have existing today. Compare that data, ensure that you've picked the right files to use, identify that data correctly, make sure the attributes are aligned, and then through the process of that mapping and then import, make sure that data is all straight and ready to go. And you can do this all within the migration cockpit and understand what steps you are within the migration and overall performance, and repeat that through the rehearsal cycle as well. So ProStep is always focused on interoperability within engineering, whether that be through migration and how we can work with different vendors' systems in order to migrate data, or through integration or data exchange between organizations, things like this. So in order to support that with OpenPDM, we've developed over 25 years of OpenPDM, the different components that you see here. And this is not exhaustive, there are more as well. But when we're dealing with that type of multi-vendor migration solution, you're going to need commercial off-the-shelf connectivity and know-how from the consulting expertise of how to perform these types of migrations and be able to leverage those components together. So you see on here a wide range of different commercial connectors supported through OpenPDM. That starts with Eris, but also Contact, CDB, 3DX, SmartTeam, 4PEP, Arena, Windchill, Teamcenter, and other systems. So we've got other legacy connectors that we've supported in the past, like VPM or Eigner Agile, things like that. But that we can also use the experience and modernize those connectors, within the migration projects when you're moving from those old technologies to the new ones. You see ALM systems on the right-hand side, mostly used for integration purposes. On the left, some interfaces like our web service connectors, OSLC for federation, OAGIS for MES integration and other things, as well as our STEP toolkit. We can use this for long-term archiving purposes. Not just for generating, the geometry data from CAD, but generating actually the PLM data in a CAD format and then merging that with geometry that might have been created from the CAD export from the CAD system itself. So we can use a low-tar type of process with our STEP toolkit in order to archive data efficiently. We also can plug in, when you have a system that's not a standard system, like one that's homegrown, our connector template, and then be able to implement the OpenPDM connector interface so that we can then utilize OpenPDM with that system. This is an efficient way to plug it in so that the rest of your ecosystem can use data from there. And we also have high performance CAD analysis tools. This is in the case where you have a directory filled with CAD data. We can scan efficiently all those CAD files to understand the other CAD dependency relationships and attributes they might have internally within the binary. And this is without a seat of the CAD. So it's a very, very fast and efficient way to scan, hundreds of thousands of files that might be on disks. We also have implementations of CAD seats for doing that type of analysis. So looking within CATIA v5 or NX or Creo data in order to find that type of attribution and dependencies as well. So a wide range of out-of-the-box connectivity that we can bring into your migration project and leverage day one. So the architecture for OpenPDM Migrate looks a little bit like this. On the left, you've got your as-is source system. On the right, your target 2B system. And then in the middle, you put the OpenPDM migration solutions. So that could be a combination of different connectors and connector interfaces, depending on the different source systems that you might use. Or if those systems have multiple different interfaces for getting data out the correct way. In general, we want to make sure that we can export all the data and get it in a organized and aligned, export process, and ensure that that data can exist outside the system and isn't broken. So use the correct interfaces like those CAD API integration, CAD controllers, we call them, in order to pull data out of the source systems. That might mean that we utilize one or more than one for higher performance connectors on multiple machines to make sure that we're meeting the performance needs of your migration. In the middle, we've got our OpenPDM migration process engine, and this is a combination of the OpenPDM Migrate toolkit and the OpenPDM process server. We also have the mapping engine that we can use in order to put our mappings in and provide the business logic of the migration and then be able to monitor that, be able to report on that, as well as contain the data that might be written out. So that could be from the source system into the source staging database, and then report on what's there. Do the transformation into the target staging database, report on what's there, do any CAD transformation with our batch process conversion as well. And then finally be able to import. And import might also need multiple connectors if there's performance restrictions or requirements that we need to meet. And with that, we can ensure that there's the right order of data created within the system. and make sure that there's quality checks for that data, so that in the end you know what's been created within the system and the status of all of that, and can be confident that you can go live with your migration. With OpenPDM 9, we've switched to a more microservices architecture, and this is about 3 years ago that we rolled out OpenPDM 9. And this enables you to keep components in various locations, right? So you could take connectors or CAD controllers and put them next to the respective systems, be able to tune those individually, be able to scale them up, and so you can deploy rapidly multiple connectors for parallelization. And be able to then, really push the boundaries of performance for export and import type of scenarios. We got different services for doing delta comparison, for mapping, for batch process translation, a registry service so that you know where all the different components are, and all the different connectors, and be able to say, oh, I've got X amount of connectors. Well, I can go through and see which one's free, and then process more data through that one. And we also have a graphical migration engine based on Camunda, that then with the processes can live on, as well as the migration toolkit components that then get processed through the process engine itself. So very flexible architecture that then can enable higher performance over the entire enterprise, and then be deployed where it needs to be in order to get the type of performance you need for your migration. Within OpenPDM Migrate, here's an example of a Teamcenter import sequence. And what you would do is functionally kind of break these down so that you could execute in bulk, really, updates to a process to ensure that the dependencies are then available for any of the items. Now, it doesn't have to be all done on everything within the database all at once. It could be done that way, but at least package it down so that you can sequence it and make sure dependencies are available, like the item is available with the right attributes for the item revisions and the data sets, and then the CAD that might be associated with that, and kind of flow down that way. So in this case, you're creating items, attributes on that, update the security for that, create the data sets, relate those to the items if there are some there, set the classification of it, create the revisions for the item, update the security on the revisions, the data sets on there, create the BOM view on the item revision, any alternate IDs, set the status, set the ownership and user and group on the revision and the item itself. So kind of a sequence for handling items and BOMs. But then you can see how you might be able to package these up to have kind of a straight performant, high performance import process for Teamcenter. Yeah. So with OpenPDM Migrate, you can enable Teamcenter through various commercial off-the-shelf connected integration components that we offer. So on the left-hand side, you'll see different connectors. So we've got our Teamcenter SOA connector. That's our Teamcenter connector. That's a primary connector for integration. It works through the SOA interface. That interface is workable for some operations within migration, but is generally slower and doesn't have the granularity that you might need in some conditions in order to import the data. We've got our UG clone controller that's now called import-export interface. We've got various CAD controllers for Teamcenter integration for CATIA, IPEM, that's Creo integration, SolidWorks integration, Inventor integration, others. So we have these CAD controllers, and that leverages not just the Teamcenter API, but a combination of the Teamcenter integration API in order to make sure that you're importing this CAD data correctly. And using other interfaces, is generally not appropriate for that type of integration. We also have at the bottom, specifically for OpenPDM Migrate, a TCXML processor. And so this is to execute low-level TCXML processes for importing data from your staging database. This is generally the highest performance integration point or API for migration into Teamcenter. But it's sometimes challenging in order to get data in the right formats, or may not be supported, like in the case of the third-party CAD. We've got these great tools with OpenPDM Migrate, like the admin KPIs and other web services and the staging databases, Step Toolkit for translation and LOTAR, other things, as well as all those third-party connectors that we can leverage in order to pull data out of those other systems. Something else OpenPDM Migrate can do is data enrichment. And what we mean by that is taking data from multiple different sources, be able to do some analysis of that data, combine data from different sources so that it can then be merged and then pushed into your system. So in this example, you have a legacy system on the left with PLM or PDM information. And on the bottom, you've got SAP that has material information. And so as part of the migration, you can export those concurrently, merge that data within OpenPDM Migrate together, and then import that data together. That could also include processes for directory scans, processes to import other, like even spreadsheet data that might be necessary for a data alignment within the migration processes themselves. And you see here, what is your systems, what is OpenPDM product software, so COTS software, and then also what is the specific configuration of the process. And really, what you're getting with that COTS off the commercial off-the-shelf software is the ability to just do that specific configuration, mapping, and scripting that is needed inside OpenPDM Migrate, and then leverage all the tools like the connectors and the other processes and reporting and things like that that already exist that you're getting with the product. So within OpenPDM Migrate, if we're doing a coexistence style migration, typically we're dealing with a bidirectional exchange of data. And because of that, we might have, when data is released within one system, an update that needs to be created within the other. And we also combine that with batch processes in order to load the data in the other system so that we can do an initial load and then continued updates as new things become live in either system effectively. So we use our OpenPDM migration cockpit and OpenPDM process server based on Camunda in order to do those types of processes. So in this case, you would put in an event trigger within the source system that then would prod OpenPDM with a REST interface call that says this is going to be released as part of maybe a change process. Behind the scenes, you would start that within the background in the OpenPDM process server, use the OpenPDM connectors to export the data or the CAD with a controller, the mapping service to map it, batch process service in order to do translation if you need some conversion, and then import the data to the other system with your OpenPDM connector. So you can utilize these to do bidirectional exchange of data after the initial load of whatever that 20% of that program or that division's data, and combine this with a ETL style process or run these in batch, right? Once you develop this exchange process, you can execute it on all the data sets in order to make sure you've loaded that data. As a part of coexistence to keep those two systems aligned during the migration. Our ProStep is here to help. We've been doing successful migration projects for a long time. We've got hundreds of PLM consultants, and we can understand all these different systems and the data models and the intricacies and processes to migration. We're available globally and have these standards-based commercial off-the-shelf software that we can then utilize. And we're vendor neutral. So we're not putting preference to the old or the new system or what have you. We're looking out for your best interest, not effectively what the vendor's best interest might be. We can use these, the software in a rental type of model and maintain these connectors, for the different systems, or can take, old legacy connectors since OpenPDM has been around for a long time, and then update those so that we can use them within your migration project too. And again, we'd like to thank the Digital Enterprise Society on their co-partnership for this webinar series and Teamcenter Migration Week. Digital Enterprise Society has an event called the Digital Intersect coming up February 22nd in Troy, Michigan. This one-day event will be an opportunity to network with peers, learn about best practices from industry thought leaders, discover new technologies from several of the top vendors serving our industry. And the theme of this year's event is the revolution in your digital ecosystem. There's a great agenda planned to include presentations from Siemens Digital Industry Software, ProStep, Elysium, SimData, LeanOn, and several others. As a reminder, I'll be giving a presentation entitled Multi-System PLM Integration. My talk focuses on strategies to connect siloed product data across core enterprise systems. So if seamlessly integrating your PLM landscape is of interest to you, or you want to learn ways to maximize the value of your existing PLM infrastructure, please join me at my scheduled session. And with that, I want to thank you for attending our 4th webinar in migration series. Again, my name is Brian Scouten. I'm Director of Technical Pre-Sales for ProStep Inc. Please feel free to reach out at my email, brian.scouten@prostep.com. We'd be very excited again to hear about your migration project, and maybe we can help out in developing a strategy or helping execute your migration. With that, we conclude our webinar series and look forward to hearing from you.